So kill the lights, please. Listen up, if you will. I understand that I am giving you a lot of work. I get that. And I understand that there may be a part of you that's rebelling against that, and it feels like, oh, come on already. I understand. But the sacrifice is worth the reward. It really is. I can tell you that on June the 13th, you take your Regents. You're going to walk out of that Regents, and there's going to be one or two different feelings. You're either going to have fear in the pit of your stomach. You're going to be afraid that you just screwed something really important up. Or there will be confidence. And you will be like, yes, I was ready. And maybe I didn't do perfectly, but I did a solid job. I did a better than solid job. And some of you might even get really excited and start thinking, man, I got like a 95 or higher on this thing. And getting that second feeling rather than fear is worth it. Have you ever felt that fear after a test when you think you screwed it up? Now think of that fear on a test that's going to be reported to your college that you applied to in a few years. And imagine somehow not getting into the school that you think sets you up with your dreams. It's simply not worth it. So we will leave no stone unturned preparing. We will do everything in our power to get you as ready as humanly possible for that test. I will do it, and I do expect you to do it. And then, after the test, we will take a giant exhale, and you don't have to think about math till September. But until then, we're going to peak, and we're going to hit our stride, and we're going to kick some serious mathematical butt. Yes.
How likely do you think it is that, like, for us to get like a 90, like how many times has a student gotten 90 or higher?
Well, there's two things. Before last June, I want to say less than 6% of the kids across the state of New York got an 85 or higher.
What do you mean? Wait,
That's depressing.
Yes, 6% of the kids across the state of New York got an 85 or higher before last June. They used to take the top end of the curve and curve it down. So if you had earned a 92, they curved it to an 88 or an 89. Yes,
that's so wrong.
yes, it's very wrong. And you were sacrificed at the altar of going after teacher success rates. They didn't care. Now, the good news is that they have adjusted the curve starting last June. So starting last June, they no longer curve it down. And I think last year, I had a very high percentage get 85 or higher.
What about
So,
in the 90s?
I don't remember 90s because the way they do the cutoff is they do 85 or higher and they tell you the percent. So that was the number that was given to me. But there are a good number of 90s. The highest grade I've gotten on this Regents is a 96. Aiden Minushkin got a 96 on it. It's just so many pitfalls. If you crack a 96, you're doing something right. It's a tough test. Plus his was curved down. I think his actual grade would have been like a 97 or a 98. So, all right, let's go through your quiz. The whole secret, you want that grade. You want the 90 or higher. I'm telling you, the secret is in your notebook. Secret is in the notebook. And by the way, if you want, you can leave me your notebook after class, and I will get it checked off next period, and you can pick it up at the end of second period. Okay? All right. So here are the answers to the quiz, and let's go through them. A couple of you guys had a tough quiz. I was surprised. Lots of hundreds, Senecal. Lots of hundreds. Did you have a blonde moment or what? You're usually a star. You're usually great, but today it was like.
I got the first one right, but you marked it wrong.
What's that?
I got the first one right, but you marked it.
I marked it wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right, I apologize.
Nutty.
I think this is still going to be your lowest one in the series, so I don't think it's going to affect it in any way, shape, or form. When I graded that paper, I went through and I looked at other kids' papers and asked myself if I got it wrong, because I was like, what the heck? And yours was the second one I graded, so. All right. The x-intercept is when the y equals 0. I think we're remembering that pretty well now, so it's 10. Over here, I couldn't understand how anybody got this wrong. Not only have we done it several times this year,
What? I got it right.
there you go, and I think everybody should have gotten it right, but there were some people who got it wrong.
I was able to
I
get
wonder who that is. Isn't this like the second time we've
Yeah,
done this?
I.
This is about the 5th time we've done this.
Yeah.
All right? So listen, hey, the first integer is j, the second integer is j plus 2, and I have to distribute, and I get j squared plus 2j, and that's got to equal 783. It's pretty easy to me. I don't know if you realized here, but the word doubles is very important here. Doubles means exponential. Linear, linear is a constant rate of change. Doubling is not constant. See, if you start with 5 and double it, you get 10. But then if you double 10, you get 20. And if you double 20, you get 40. So it's going up by different amounts every single time. So you need the exponential graph, which is choice 3. Choice 1 does not start on 20. Choice 2, I guess this is, does start on 20, but it's decreasing. And this guy's linear, so that's not it. As far as number 4 goes, the easiest way to do it is to input y equals 2x minus 4 in your calculator, and then go to table. God bless. Remember, domain is inputs is x, so I look from where x is 2 to 6, and I match the y's, which is 0 to 8. You could have also plugged in a 2. You would have gotten 0. A 6, you would have gotten 8. And that would have also given you the ring. Okay, any questions? All right. Now, last night's homework, if you would get it out, please. There were some very, very good questions on this. And it's really important, extremely important, that you, whatchamacallit, it's extremely important that you realize that most of the test is functions and equations. So if you struggle with this sheet, you're going to struggle with most of the test. On the other hand, if you are acing this stuff, you're in really good shape. All right, so I'm just going to scroll through pretty slowly, and if you have a question, raise your hand, okay? I tried to put explanations up there, and as always, this will be on YouTube in just a few minutes after class, so you can, go through and get a really good summary of it. I wouldn't go nuts right now trying to copy stuff down,
Yeah, don't go nutty.
okay? Okay, any questions on this page? Guys, I'm seeing people looking around. This is not a good time to look around. To me, this is a pretty challenging question here. Which equation could be graphed below? What they're really asking you is, which of these equations have roots or zeros of -2, 1, and 3? So I just look at it very quickly. Like this, the roots are always the reverse of whatever's in the package. So this is -2, and then I factored this out. I came up with -2, 6, and -2. That's not where those zeros are. The next one I came up with 3, -2, and 1, so that worked. And the next one I came up with 1, 6, and -1, so it's only 2. Okay? Lipstick.
What was number 1? I don't have my pack
There's 2 ways to do this one. Actually, 3 ways. The first way is to look at it as a sequence, and you say to yourself, well, I begin with 3, and I add 1.5, n minus 1 times, because I don't have to add to get to the 3. Or you could distribute that out, clean it up, and write 1.5 plus 1.5n, or do the commutative property and reverse them. Or you could go to your calculator, and this is a very powerful way to do this. List 1 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. List 2 would be 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, and 9. And you realize it's going up by a constant amount, so it's a linear regression. So you just do linear regression, and out would pop. That answer would be the bottom one. Both answers are acceptable. Okay, any questions? Number 30 can be tricky. A lot of times kids will get x is greater than -1, and they'll either think the answer is -1 or they'll just stop. But the direction specifically said determine the smallest integer. So the smallest integer that's greater than -1 is 0. As before, you realize this one is geometric or exponential. It's a geometric sequence. It's an exponential function. So it's y equals a times b to the x. I started with 120. The common ratio is 3/2, 180 divided by 120. And it's to the x minus 1. Or you use the calculator. If you use the calculator, you'll get 80 times 1.5 to the x, using it this time in exponential regression. And these two are equivalent. All right, if you do a little bit of work here and a little bit of manipulation, you'll see that they're the same exact equation. Okay. We realize here that when I plug in a 26, which reduces this to a 25, I get 3 million downloads. And then they ask about if it's 1 year, that would be 52 weeks, which is just an enormous number in the trillions, and there aren't enough people on the
Yeah,
planet.
this is also on one of our take-home tests.
Yes, yes, it's important. And back when I made this sheet up, they had only given out a couple of tests. So you're seeing some repetitive questions, but that's okay because you need to know them. And also, we are shifting gears in the next couple of days into non-repetitive stuff. Okay? Some people put -6 on this one, and we've gone over this. It's not -6. It's supposed to be x minus. So when you see -6, the minus is already supposed to be there, so the 6 itself has to be positive. This time I did number 29 AJ's way, and I solved it out, but you could have graphed it. Remember, that's called a discriminant. This part here is what determines about what the roots will look like, or the zeros. This exact one we did yesterday. Remember the importance of how you input something into the calculator? Here you had to do 66 divided by parenthesis pi times 3.3. Otherwise, it interprets it through the order of operations to, if you write it out linearly, it would say 66 divided by pi times 3.3. Which is what you would have put in if you didn't use parentheses. God bless you. Any questions there? Okay. The y-intercept is always where you begin, hence the word initially. And 5,000 is the amount that went in it initially. Oh, I forgot to circle the right answer here. I must have gotten distracted. I believe it's going to be choice 4, right? Because I got to do half and square, and that means I add 9, I get 16 over there. We did this exact question the other day, but this is such an important question to me that you are able to follow all of these steps and execute all of these steps. Because, as I said yesterday, if you can solve this one, you can do the hardest type of factoring. There's only one other subtype that can be a little bit tricky that we will see before we take the test. And we've done it a number of times. It won't be new to you. Just for whatever reason, we haven't done too many of them so far. On this bottom one, there's a few different ways you can do this. You could substitute the answers in and see which one checks. If you're at all confused with how I'm about to do this, I would suggest that. You could also subtract 1/6 from both sides and then cross multiply. That's another good way. But what I did was I distributed 6 to all 3 terms. And in the course of distributing 6 to all 3 terms, it knocks out the denominators, and it makes it a lot easier to do. Okay. Questions? Two good ways to do this one. You could graph it and show that it goes from 0 to 4. And the rocket has to be above the ground. It's not going to be below the ground. Or you could do it algebraically, as I did here, 0 to 4. Okay, which ones are functions? This is not. The 2's repeat. Vertical line test fails here. These 2 pass. So 2 and 4. Again, which represents a function? I crossed out the ones that didn't work because there was repetition of a domain element. In other words, one of the domain elements had 2 different range elements. That's not allowed with a function. And again, speaking of domain, there's so much stuff about domain and range that you need to be aware of because of functions. Domain is the x value. The x is greater than or equal to -4 here, so it's choice 4. The range is the y value. AJ?
So for the other question, the function one, like the one on the bottom. So if there's like, so for if x was like repeated, like this for example 0, 0, but if they had the same exact output, like
Then it would be okay.
okay.
Yeah, because then they're just saying it again and again and again. It has to be 2 different outputs. You could put 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, as long as it goes 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, that's fine. All right. Oh, here we go. Linear means a constant rate of change. There it is. You could always, if you wanted to, plot the points and see which one looks like a line. Thank you so much. Okay, we did this one already, so I don't need to do it again. You could do number, whatever this is, 10 up here on the calculator if you wanted to, and just look for the roots, but to me, this is a pretty simple, straightforward way to do it. I find questions like number 21 to be annoying. They're not hard, they're just annoying because you've got to do the rate of change multiple times, or you have to find the y-intercept or find the maximums. There's a lot there. I just lucked into the fact that, God bless, when I did the rate of change here, I plugged in a -1 and got 6, or 1 and got 4. That's 2 over -2, God bless, which is -1. The other rate of change was 2, so we know it had to be greater. Okay, over here I factor out the 3, factor this. I shorthanded the work a little bit, but I think you understand. Earlier in the year, we did this bottom one, number 20, and I remember distinctly that a number of people did not round off properly. Okay? It wants the balance. It doesn't want how much interest was earned. Interest you'd have to subtract the 600. It wants the balance, and the balance would be 619.35. Test the formulas, see which one works. By now, number 7 should be as easy as anything on earth. 27, we've done a number of times. Look, if it's linear, it goes up by a constant amount. This isn't even close to constant, so it has to be exponential. And this guy is a 5% decrease because it's supposed to be 1 plus or minus. In this case, it has to be 1 minus what gets you 0.95. The what is 0.05, and that's 5%. I think that might be all of them. Yep, that's all of the homework. Any questions? Any on it? All right, so you guys can get started on that. If anybody has a notebook that they want me to check, feel free to bring it up.